Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another riveting episode of The Final Word with MattyB here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network on this lovely Monday, November the 4th, 2024, Election Day Eve, as the country prepares and braces itself for what should be an interesting next 24 hours, I should say the least, and I hope, no matter what side of the fence you are on, or what side of the aisle you're on, or what side of the positions you're on, that you exercise your right to vote and go out and cast your ballot accordingly as to your whatever beliefs are. So that is my public service announcement to do your civic duty on this election eve. And as a former soldier who spent 30 years of his life defending those rights, I do not take those responsibilities lightly. So please go out there and exercise your right to vote, because it is a right, not a privilege. And again, it doesn't really matter to me who you vote for or why you vote. Just go out and do it. And there's also, I think, local, state positions of tomorrow as well. So don't forget about those either. But of course, the big one, the big cookie hanging out there, the presidential election. So we're not going to get political. Well, you know what? I'm not going to say that we won't. We might get a little political tonight because I got a bee in my bonnet that I want to exercise my right tonight to talk about. So maybe we will get political. I don't know, but we'll see. But here on the program tonight, we got your day in Philadelphia sports history. We got a little bit of Major League Baseball talk. We're gonna dwell into some baseball because things are starting to heat up on the hot stove. Maybe not heat up. I guess the burner's on, right? It's still not heated, but we are going to start talking some hot stove things. The Phillies made some moves today. It's earth-shattering moves, not, but, they did make some moves. And they've also made a couple of moves, or one move prior. So teams are starting to make some moves. Some other teams have made some moves as well. The Gold Glove Award winners have been named. That kind of flew under the radar. We had 6 Phillies nominated for Gold Gloves in the National League, and none of them won, other than, that's not too much of a shock to me, with maybe the exception of Bryson Stott. I really thought that he had, or he will be, at one point, a Gold Glove, a second baseman. He's just an outstanding defender. Can't hit worth a damn, but he can definitely field that position. So, but he did not win. He was nominated, but did not win. We'll talk about the NL-AL Gold Glove winners maybe briefly if we get around to it. Our final words, I guess, on the Eagles-Jaguars tonight. Spent a little time discussing that win and discussing the fallout, the backlash from the win. It's amazing, man. It's amazing this town we live in. You can't enjoy a win. But then again, physician, heal thyself, because I'm the biggest provocator of all that. I stir that pot probably more than anybody else does. But we'll talk about the fallout from the Eagle win yesterday. We'll talk a little bit about the Flyers. There's not really much to talk about other than, I guess, Cam York. He will be on the trip this week. He's going out on the trip to Carolina and the Florida area. Now, he's not activated. He's still on IL, but potentially maybe he might find his way back into the lineup at some point this week for the Flyers. Sam Erson's injury, I guess, is not being characterized as serious. He has not been put on IL, so I don't really know his timetable of return, but the Flyers are going to go with a tandem of Fedotov and Kovasov in the interim. So, but the good news is that Sam Ersson was not placed on the IL, so that's positive if you're a Flyers fan. It's positive if you have any hopes that this season might be somewhat salvageable, or the season might be, and I don't want to use that word salvageable, somewhat competitive, I guess. We're going to talk also our Flyers prospect segment of the night. It's time to go with our prospect of the night segment. It's going to be, of course, the Flyers player. MattyB's card review. I got a very obscure baseball card to talk about tonight, but he is a Hall of Famer, so he deserves to be mentioned. And I am going to add a little bit about the Joel Embiid, Jason Kelce stuff, because I guess that's the political side of what I'll discuss tonight. I guess that's kind of what, because I've heard some insanity when it comes to those two situations that I want to comment on, because I just can't stay away from that. I have to comment on everything. And of course, our very initial segment is Your Day in Philly Sports History. But before I get to that, I'll remind everybody that this program is brought to you by the good folks here at the It's a Wrap Sports Network. And you can find us there on the scroll below you. There's our YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe our channel. Please also like and subscribe on our social media outlets. They're listed in the description. If you're watching this on YouTube or anywhere else, it's down there in the bottom in the description area. So please navigate your way over to especially our Facebook page. I don't know if you guys are noticing this, or if anybody has tried to start a internet-based sports network lately, but Facebook has different parameters now for allowing live streams on certain web pages or certain Facebook pages. And you have to have an X amount of followers, and you have to be in a page for an X amount of time in order to do that. We meet the time requirement, but we do not meet the follower requirement. So please give us a follow on Facebook. That would greatly that would greatly help us grow this market on Facebook. And then one final little promo note before I get into the meat and the bones of the show. The wraparound with Sal G kicked off earlier this evening, and I want to congratulate Sal on an outstanding show. It's outstanding initial dipping his feet in the water, so to speak, as he enters a brave new world of weekly broadcasting and nightly broadcasting, because he does post games here too. So Sal's off and running in his career, and I'm thrilled for him, and he did an outstanding job. And now nowhere to go but up, Sal. Don't go back. If you regress, we're going to have problems. But no, he did a great job, and please go check that out. It's on our YouTube channel, and it's all over our social media stuff as well if you missed it. So go ahead and check out Sal as he kicked off the wraparound with Sal G earlier tonight, and a great job indeed at that. So let's get it started, shall we? As we do every night. Your Day in Philadelphia Sports History. It's a baseball thing. That's right. There was baseball being played at some point on November 4th in the very recent past of Philly's past. On this night in 2009, the Phillies were going down in flames. Let's just put it to you that way, to the New York Yankees in the 2009 World Series. And leading the charge in that burning thing was the 2009 NLCS MVP, Ryan Howard. Because on this night, Ryan Howard struck out for the 13th time in the 2009 World Series, setting a record of futility at that time. I did not do any further research to verify if he still holds that illustrious record, but he broke Willie Wilson's record, who set it in 1980 against the Phillies. But Ryan Howard, along with other issues that the Phillies had in the 2009 World Series, Cole Hamels wasn't Cole Hamels in 2009. There were some things that just kind of broke down for the Phillies as they tried to repeat as world champions. And but Ryan Howard's 13th strikeouts in the World Series did not help the Phillies' cause as they lost to the Yankees in 2009. So here's to Ryan Howard's record-setting night of 13 strikeouts in the 2009 World Series. Miss them days, right? Miss those days of competitive baseball. Miss those days of World Series caliber baseball from the Phillies. It seems, if you look at the calendar, if you look at the dates, it doesn't seem that long ago. But boy, does it ever seem that long ago. But so there you go. There's your night or your day in Philly sports history. Ryan Howard broke the MLB record held by Willie Wilson with 13 strikeouts in the 2009 World Series as the Phillies lost to the New York Yankees, and thus ending their dynasty bid, I guess. As we all know how that run kind of worked itself out. They regressed from that point forward, and now here we are in 2025-ish, 4 or 5-ish. And we have a whole bunch of other issues to talk about when it comes to the Phillies, but there you have it. So there's your night in Philadelphia sports history, brought to you by the great folks here at It's Wrap Sports, who desperately need your help and your support and your likes and your shares and your bells and your whistles and your high fives and all those things to help us keep growing this network through some of these tough early days that we're facing. But you know what? We're not going to go away. That's right. I'm like a fungus. I never go away. So let's get into the show. Eagles, Jaguars, I'm going to put my final spin on that because we're kind of up against Dallas week, and I do want to address Dallas week a little bit tonight. And we'll get deeper into Dallas week later in the week as we do the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn, and we'll get deeper into the Cowboys and whatnot. But I guess a final bow around the Jacksonville Jaguar game has really been what has kind of risen to the top for me. Has not been the play of Saquon Barkley. Has not been the improved play of a Eagle linebacker core that has completely come out of nowhere with Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean leading the way and playing outstanding level of football from the linebacker position. Has not been the play of the Eagles secondary, who, to be honest with you, yesterday there was a lot of venom towards the officials when it came to the Johnny Wilson, what was his name? Pass interference call there in the end zone. And I believe Steve brought it up on the show last night that was not pass interference. And, in its theory or its roots, it might not have been. There was contact on that play. But was it ticky-tack? Yeah, I'll give you that. But if you watch that game, Cooper DeJean got away with a couple pass interference calls or non-calls earlier in that game that really should have been pass interference. And he got away with them. So turnaround is fair play, and you know what? It is what it is. So the gods always come back to get you at a certain point. And I'm never one to hang the hat on why we won or why. Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this is about a game we won, but why we might have lost because of the officials. I'm not. You guys know that I'm not a big fan of that. You play the cards you're dealt, and you do the best you can with it. You don't blame outside factors. You blame yourself. Because you put yourself in that position to begin with. So, anyway, but all the positives, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, who I think he's a Fugazi, whatever. I don't think he's the real deal. I think he's a very serviceable starting caliber type quarterback. I just don't think he's elite, and I think we might have made a mistake once again with giving the wrong quarterback the money once again. But he's continued to kind of improve, even though I don't like the Moriarty offense that he's running, the hybrid between Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni. I think that offense is vanilla. I think it's basic. I think it's base. And I think once the Eagles run up against some of the upper echelon teams in the NFC and the NFL as they quest for their Super Bowl, it's going to be exposed in a really bad way. And I'm going to give you one number that verifies or supports my theory here. But he is improving, and he has played better over the last four games. I'll give you that. But all of those good things, and then the play of Devontae Smith. Now we have A.J. Brown hurt, but the play of Devontae Smith. All these great things that have come out of Sunday's game are overshadowed by the clownery of the head coach and his willingness to try to literally snatch victory from the jaws of victory. And we talked about it a little bit yesterday. I didn't really harp on it last night. Was more concerned about the game. But, the fact that he left, and some people want to say he left 8 points on the field. I'm being generous here in saying that he left, in my opinion, 6 points on the field. But still, 8, 6, I don't care how many points you think he lost. It's still a lot, and it's still too much. And his way of justifying it during his press conference yesterday was by saying, if it worked, I'm being hailed as a hero, but it doesn't work, so now I have to answer questions for it. He's completely missing the point of what his job is. It's not to be the hero versus the GOAT. It's for playing and managing and coaching and calling a smart football game. And yes, that is a Achilles heel to this football team, that if we can rise above all the other stuff, the pass rush still is not that good. The offensive line has played okay, but not as good as it has in years past. But if we can rise above all those on the field things, you got the head coach standing in your way to potentially block you from winning anything at this level. So that's a concern that this organization really should start taking seriously, and the fan base should really start taking seriously. Is Nick Sirianni's Rob Thompsonisms, I guess. Maybe we can throw another Philadelphia coach under the bus there. His Rob Thompsonisms. And when it comes down to it, and we're in a situation, maybe in the NFC Championship game, or potentially, God willing, and it probably won't, but in the Super Bowl, where a smart play has to be called and a smart situation has to be managed, is Nick Sirianni the guy you want to be pinning your hopes that he makes the right decision? I equate it to being on the Titanic and then running up to the bridge of the ship to find that Daffy Duck is the captain. Now, it doesn't give you a lot of confidence. And as we navigate the waters of the rest of this season, and if the Eagles can find their way to a point where they're in a playoff position, which they are right now, but if they are in a position at the end of the season to win their division or get into the playoffs, in spite of their head coach, what confidence do you have going into the playoffs that Nick Sirianni won't be the undoing of this team? So it's funny to me that the success or the win is overshadowed by the incompetence of the coach, who literally almost blew a 22-0 lead. And but you know what? I don't blame all that on Sirianni. I blame some of the mental mistakes from the team as they were kind of driving down towards the end of the game. The offense went cold. The defense kind of slacked off a little bit. So Nick Sirianni wasn't the one out there on the field doing those things. But, of course, the bad decisions, the propensity to go for it just about on every fourth down, this new obsession with two-point conversions, which is something new. I don't remember that being a thing. And all those things are factoring into a potential disaster for this team when every point will matter eventually as we get deeper into the schedule and into the postseason. So I guess the final bow around the Jacksonville Jaguar game is, the Eagles won in spite of their head coach. And can they continue to do that against elite level competition? Now, Dallas week is upon us. The Cowboys, who are a dumpster fire, which is okay by me. The Eagles are going into Dallas on Sunday in a game where they should win. Right? They should win this game. And this is one of those really important games. This is one of those 2 or 3 game swings in the standing type games. It's a divisional game. It's a conference game. This is a huge game for the Eagles that they need to win. And they need to play their best. Because, yes, the Cowboys are scuffling, and Dak Prescott with a hamstring injury now may not be available for the game. But the last thing that needs to happen to the Eagles is go to Dallas and then have Nick Sirianni Sirianni it up, and they come out of there with snatching defeat from the jaws of victory and causing a big old shift in the standings because of all the implications of this game. And then it's also the game before the Commanders game. So the Eagles are looking at maybe potentially playing the Washington Commanders in Philadelphia on Thursday Night Football for the division lead at stake. So very important game comes Sunday against the Dallas Cowboys. And a winnable game, and a game that the Eagles on paper should win. So we're going to have to wait and see if Sirianni learns from his mistakes, he seems to stop jawing at the fans, and we're back on the road. Good God, man. Back on the road again. Amazing how I don't remember when I looked at the schedule back in May. I don't remember it being so tilted. I thought I would have paid attention to that about the lack of consistent home games and all these damn road games. Now I know in the back end of the schedule it's very home laden and they're home a lot, but man, it's been tough. 1 home game, 4 on the road. 1 home game, 3 on the road. I mean, come on, man. And I said this to Kyle the other day. Obviously, it's the Brazil game that kind of set all this off. But back on the road again on Sunday to play the Dallas Cowboys in a pivotal game against the most hated rivals of the Philadelphia Eagles, which leads me to my initial Dallas week impressions, right? I've been on the record of saying this in years past. This is not the Dallas week that I grew up in. This is so not that time. Dallas week used to be the best, and it was so great that it was twice a year, and it was so great that all the venom would come out in a hardcore way. There was no love lost, obviously, between the Eagles and Cowboys. There was no love lost between the fan base. It was a rock'em sock'em, mudslinging affair. But now in this gentler, soft ass, millennial Gen Z society we all live in, Dallas week has really lost a lot of its oomph for me. I don't think there's hatred on the teams between the players. I don't. I don't think there's hatred at all, and they go about it more of a job than anything else. And it's sad to see, because for those of you who don't remember what a actual Dallas week is or was, again, I weep for you, because there was nothing like it. You look forward to it during the football season, and it came around twice a year. So not only did we get it once, we got it twice. But now, yeah, it's here, but it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel the same, and it doesn't feel there's not the rivalry anymore that used to exist between these two teams, and it's partly or a lot to do with the way people are brought up these days. It's a shame. It really is, and it's another reason why I don't know. It just loses a lot for me, but. We'll get more into Dallas week as we get through the week, but I just wanted to kind of lend you my initial impressions that Dallas week to me is not like it used to be. And for those of you who grew up in it back in the 80s and 90s, you know what I'm talking about. There was no love lost between the two teams or their fan bases or the cities or the stadiums, none of that. And now it's more of a gentler, simpler, kinder little society we live in that really takes all the fun out of Dallas week. It really does. So we'll get in more into Dallas week as we roll through the week, but I just kind of wanted to put that out there. And then, as I said, toss a bow around the Eagle 28-23 victory over the Jaguars and how it's being overshadowed by the buffoonery of the Philadelphia Eagle head coach, Nick Sirianni. That is it a Super Bowl championship? Is that the only thing that saves his job? Do the Eagles bring him back next year with anything less than a Super Bowl win? Is there a scenario out there that Sirianni retains his job? If the Eagles win the division, get to the playoffs, and don't advance beyond the divisional round, does Nick Sirianni retain his job? If they get to the championship game and they lose, does Nick Sirianni retain his job? If they get to the Super Bowl and lose, does Nick Sirianni retain his job? My point is this: is a Super Bowl championship the only thing that people would accept Nick Sirianni to return next season? It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, because I already told you this. It ain't going to truly change unless you fire the other head of the snake, or you kill the other head of the snake, and that's Howie Roseman, because all they're going to do is fire Sirianni and bring in Sirianni. That's who his replacement will be. Now, I know Kellen Moore is rumored as maybe one of the more hotter names heading into the offseason. Don't know Kellen Moore. Don't know what his personality is, and is he a yes man? I'm not sure. But I don't think that the Eagles would hire him if he wasn't a yes man. And I think that's a big thing, too, that not many people are looking into, is that the power struggle and all that. So Nick Sirianni continues to defy the laws of physics and basic football etiquette, and the Eagles continue to win in spite of that, which is maybe another, maybe they should get extra, points in the standings. I know it's not hockey and you don't get points, but dealing with Nick Sirianni as your head coach and winning in spite of that, should that give you more like a win and a half or a win and a quarter? Does that count as like an extra part to a win that you overcome not only your opponent on the field, but your head coach? That's something to look into, too, at the Rules Committee meeting this winter or this summer. No, this winter. So we'll see. But there you go. There you have it. Nick Sirianni and the Eagles are winning in spite of Nick Sirianni. And my last thing about the Eagles before I flip it over is the Jalen Hurts thing. Again, I am not sitting here bashing Jalen Hurts. I think he's the Eagles are lucky to have him. They are. They're very lucky to have him. It could be a lot worse. We could be dealing with some of the other quarterback situations we have in this league. The Eagles are lucky to have a good starting quarterback in Jalen Hurts, but he's not elite, and that's something that I think Eagle fans need to start coming to grips with. There's limitations to what he does as a quarterback. And I don't think when you mention an elite quarterback that the word limitation needs to be attached to him, because an elite quarterback should be able to do it all. I'm not saying do it all the time, but do it all. And what I mean by not do it all the time is not be successful at it, but still do it all the time. And there's one main theory that I believe is holding up and supports this for me, is the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles, in a whopping offensive attack, do not attack the middle of the field. They don't attack the middle of the field. I've been harping on these numbers a little bit over the last 3 weeks. And today I said, to hell with it. I'm going to go back into the books and I'm going to figure this out from week 1 up to now. And so I did. And the numbers are astonishing. So Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles have attempted 215 passes. 215 passes. 215. Look at that. 215 passes so far in the 2024 season. And out of those 215 passes, only 25 of those passes have targeted the middle of the field. That's ungodly. Why? Can somebody answer me why they don't attack the middle of the field? I have my own theory that I've shared on this show multiple times, and I'll share it again. Is because throwing the ball to the middle of the field requires precision, it requires patience, and it requires threading the needle through a very tight window. All three things that Jalen Hurts does not possess as a quarterback. They live on the outside. They live on the left side, the right side, the sidelines, the hero ball. And can you sustain winning not attacking the middle of the field? Don't give me they don't have the weapons. They do. Before Dallas Goedert got hurt, he's a weapon in the middle of the field. They've run Devontae Smith into the middle of the field before, and it's worked. So they got the weapons. They don't use them for some reason, but they got them. And I think the reason, again, why they don't target the middle of the field is because they don't have faith and confidence in the quarterback to deliver the ball consistently into the middle of the field. And that is not the makings of an elite quarterback. And that's all really I need to see. And these are numbers. This ain't me hating on Jalen Hurts. These are numbers that I'm pulling out from the first, 8 games. These are the numbers that support this claim that they don't attack the middle of the field. And an elite quarterback should have no restrictions of where he attacks. Yes, they're a rushing team with a rushing identity. But to only throw the ball, and this is completions, incompletions, interceptions, touchdowns, whatever, 25 times only, they've thrown the ball to the middle of the field this year. Through 8 games, 215 passes. There's something to that. That's not just a scheme or a playbook. There's something to that. And to me, my opinion is they don't have trust and faith in their quarterback to do that. And how can you claim that Jalen Hurts is an elite quarterback when a whole section of the field, it's like 60% of it, is shut off from him because they don't trust him? So yes, he's a good quarterback. Yes, he's a starting caliber quarterback in the National Football League, but he is in no sense of the word an elite quarterback. And until then, can you win with a non-elite quarterback? 100%. We've seen it over history of the NFL. You don't need a Tom Brady to win. I mean, well, if you had a Tom Brady, you win 7 Super Bowls, but you don't need a Tom Brady to win a Super Bowl. Hell, we won it with a Nick Foles, right? So you don't need that. But when you're paying a guy elite level money, don't you expect an elite level performance? Just saying. So it's time to recognize that Jalen Hurts is not an elite level quarterback. And that's all about the Eagles for now. We will again re-engage the Eagles later this week, probably every night. And then, of course, on Thursday at 6:30 or 6 or Friday at 3 or Saturday at 2 in the afternoon. Whenever we can get it in, we will have the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn. We'll go back over the Jacksonville Jaguar game and then look a little bit more deeper into the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas week in general. So let's turn the tables now on to the National or Major League Baseball. Dodgers are the World Series champions. Started to bring this up last night, but got sidetracked by the Eagles, rightfully so. But the Los Angeles Dodgers are your World Series champions. The 8th World Series in the Brooklyn Los Angeles Dodgers life, which to me seems a little low for a team that's been around as long as they have. Freddie Freeman is your World Series MVP. And the question I have since the Dodgers did it and since they won the World Series is, are the Phillies as good as the Dodgers? Do the Phillies stack up against the LA Dodgers. You know, for a very last couple seasons, everybody kind of put the Dodgers down because they failed to make it out of the first round of the playoffs after coming off that first round bye. Now, this year they dispelled that because they did have a first round bye and they won the World Series. So that no longer holds any sort of validity for me. That theory of the first round bye being a death roll. No, it was a death roll for the Phillies but the Phillies' problems didn't start because of the bye. I mean, they went into the bye with the problems and this came and then didn't do anything to adjust. But when you look at the Dodgers from top to bottom and you look at the Phillies from top to bottom, and I'm not saying potential. I'm saying for what happened on the field in 2024. The whole thing. Do the Phillies stack up against the Dodgers? And moving forward into 2025, what does Dave Dombrowski have to do to get him, if he doesn't believe the Phillies do stack up against the Dodgers, what does Dave Dombrowski have to do to get him to that point? And with free agency now starting in Major League Baseball, a couple notable names. Garrett Cole, who opted out of his final year of his contract or opted out of his deal, just kind of re-signed with the Yankees for 4 years. So we're starting to kind of see the dominoes fall. They're not falling, but it's starting to move a little bit. What are the Phillies going to do in free agency? I've given you my plan, and we'll get more deep into my plan at another time as we get a little bit closer into a little deeper into the postseason or offseason. But I've given you my plan of what I think the Phillies need to do. I think third base, left field, and a backup catcher on offense. And then two arms for the bullpen. Actually, now three, I believe, because we have some news today about one of our bullpen arms that is no longer with us. And a starting pitcher who can pitch not only that in the fifth role, but in the third role or the fourth role, depending if we need them. So that's just on the surface. And then, of course, the biggest thing that the Phillies need to do in 2025 is play up to their potential. The players that we're paying the elite money, Harper, Turner, Schwarber, Real Muto, Castellanos, those players need to start playing up to their potential. Because let's face it, Phillies lost because they went away. Collectively. Not, I know there was Castellanos and Harper allegedly. People claim that Harper was hitting in the NLDS. Whatever. He wasn't clutch, I can tell you that. He might have been hitting, but when we needed him to hit, he didn't. I've not been on Bryce Harper's bandwagon for a while now. I think he's been largely a disappointment here. But yeah. So, do the Phillies stack up against the Dodgers? Do they have enough pitching? Do they stack up with the Dodgers in their pitching? Now, I would say that the Phillies are closer to the Dodgers when it comes to starting pitching than they are. Now, you got to also factor in, does Ohtani return to the rotation next year? Or do they just keep him as the DH? Interesting situation that might arise there. Does Dave Dombrowski look at the Dodgers and try to build a team, which I think he's already done that, right? Is that we have a model of the Dodgers, high-priced players, with some storied pasts. So what else can be done? What else are the Phillies considered right there with the Dodgers? Now, going into camp and going into 25, I assume the Phillies will be a top 5 projected World Series winner, because just based on the salary and based on the payroll and based on the players, they'll come out of the season probably in that upper echelon there, as they have over the last 2 or 3 seasons. So, but in reality, are they the same level as the Dodgers? Are they the same level as the Braves, who are going to come back healthy next year? Are they the same levels as the Mets, who took giant strides with some young players next year? I mean, did everybody get closer to the Phillies? Did the Phillies take a step back to everybody? And are they further away from the World Series champion Dodgers? So questions that all have to be answered in time, but the Phillies did make some roster moves today. We talked about the Scott Kingery trade yesterday to the Anaheim Angels. But today the Phillies decided to part ways with some really cornerstones of the team last year. Rodolfo Castro was released. Colby Allard was released. Freddie Tanuk was released. Luis Ortiz was released. And Al's favorite, Junior Marte, got released today by the Phillies. So you're looking at Marte and Ortiz, who did contribute to the bullpen. Ortiz really was, involved in that. Marte was up and down. Again, I'm sorry, Al, if you're watching. Junior Marte was released. Now, whether or not they all return to the Phillies, we'll see. But Kobe Allard, who was one of the spot starters as we were trying to plug that hole in that fifth position towards the end of the season. Rodolfo Castro, which was, I believe, wasn't that a trade deadline move a couple of years ago from your vaunted GM there, David Dombrowski? These guys were all released. The Phillies did pick up, though, some players. They picked up John McMillan from waivers from the Miami Marlins, who does have major league experience. Devin Sweet was traded from the Tigers for cash. Alan Ringel, his contract was purchased. Now, these three pitchers are nothing more than camp bodies and AAA pitchers who might see time. These are all relief pitchers. They may be cycled in and out of the bullpen as we move through the season. But these are the new Junior Marte, Luis Ortiz players. I mean, these are the new batch of those guys. So not significant moves by the Phillies, of course, but moves nonetheless. And so they're already starting to wheel and deal as they try to construct the perfect roster to dethrone the Los Angeles Dodgers in 2025. So, and again, Scott Kingerly was sent packing yesterday to the Angels for cash considerations as Scotty Jetpack's era has officially ended for the Phillies. So, sad day. Yes, indeed. But anyway, let's transition our talk now. Before I get into hockey, I do have to, I'm sorry, I got to do this. I got to talk about the ongoing saga with Jason Kelce, Joel Embiid, Marcus Hayes, all that stuff. I hate to have to do this, but I'm going to do it because something happened today that really got me, I guess pissed off is the word I'm looking for. Maybe not pissed off. Concerned. Let's call it that. About this situation. And I want to address it because I feel that it's important, especially with what's about to happen tomorrow, right? With the I almost said the draft, with the presidential election. So on another show, and I won't name the show, I was listening to sporadically this morning and throughout the day because it took me like all day to kind of catch the whole thing because I was in and out of doing stuff. The comment or the topic of Jason Kelce and Marcus Hayes was brought up. And in the context of, and these were the words that were used. Again, I'm not gonna name the show because I don't want to I don't want to go there. But the host was adamant about people do not have the right to say what they want in this country. And I found that to be one of the more ignorant things I've ever heard come out of a person's mouth, especially to a person like me, who has spent literally my entire adult life, minus 5 years, protecting your right to say or do whatever the hell you want to do or say in this country. So for some ignorant communist fool to make a statement like that makes me weep for the future of this country. And let me put it more into some context. Nobody has the right to tell you what to say and what not to say. You can say the most stupidest things, the most vile things, the most offensive things you want to say. Nobody has the right to stop you. But there are, repercussions to it. There are things that are you're held accountable for your actions and your words. You should be held accountable for your actions and your words. 100%. But don't ever try to stifle somebody's right to say what they want, regardless of how stupid it is, because it's not your place. Thousands of people have died for the right for people to live and say and be whatever they want to be here. There are certain repercussions, though. You don't follow the laws, you get dealt with. You say certain things that are off-colored or offensive, you get dealt with. That's how this is supposed to work. Nobody is going to restrict what you can say or what you can do. Now, in the Jason Kelce situation, Jason Kelce's a clown for reacting the way he did. I don't care what the guy said to him. The guy was a college kid. Who cares what he said to him? If you really want to do something, then use your status as an athlete like Jason Kelce. Go to the administration, get the kid's name, report him. But you're going to go on camera holding a case of beer, snatch a cell phone out of the kid's hand. I don't know what he yelled it in his face or something, slammed it on the ground. Whatever he did, that was clownish. That was immature behavior by a 40-year-old man as it refrained to actions of a 20-year-old. I don't support what the kid said, but I'm not going to stifle his right to say it, regardless of how ignorant it is. He should be dealt with the right way. But what Jason Kelce did was he took the power out of him by acting the way he did. Marcus Hayes, in the comments that he made in his article about Joel Embiid's son and brother, in the context that I read it, it wasn't offensive. And maybe I was missing something, right? Maybe I was missing something. And maybe it was taken by some people to be offensive. But I really don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that's what Marcus Hayes meant to be as offensive. But Marcus Hayes has the right to say what he wants to say and be dealt with and be held accountable for it. Don't ever tell anybody what they can say or what they can't say. To me, that is probably one of the worst things anybody could ever do to me. Who are you to tell anybody what to say or what to do? So hold them accountable for their actions. Hold them accountable for their words. Don't try to be the moral police. That's not your job. You don't have the right to do that. People are going to control themselves or not control themselves and then be dealt with. There is nobody in this country who stands as the moral majority. Nobody. You're not better than me. You don't tell me what to do. I don't tell you what to do. That's how it works. And you deal with the stuff that happens from that point forward. So don't ever listen to some ignorant communist fool tell you that people don't have the right to say what they want to say when they want to say it. They do. But they will be held accountable for their actions and their words. That's how that's supposed to work. So I wanted to address that because it really grinded my gears when I heard that this morning or this afternoon. I forget what time of the day it was. And again, I mean no disrespect. I should be held accountable for what I said. But yeah. So I just wanted to go there. And again, about those two situations. And I don't think I'm going to bring it up again because there are two really situations where both parties might have been wrong, but yet someone's trying to take the high ground here, and it's just not possible. I know Kelce went on ESPN tonight and apologized for his behavior. Yeah, whatever. But that's what he's accountable for. Now, that young man should do the same. Or he should be held accountable through administration. Now, if Kelce would have went to administration instead of lugging around a beer case around Penn State's campus and acting like he was a frat boy, perhaps the kid would be dealt with. Maybe in the harshest way that he could be dealt with, thrown out of school. But Kelce went a different way, and he was wrong. Absolutely 100% wrong, because all that did nothing. That didn't stop the situation. That made it a pop joke now, or something that in pop culture we're going to look at and laugh about. But nothing got solved in that moment other than immature behavior versus immature behavior. So if you're going to do stuff like that and you're going to say things like that, then hold that person accountable the right way, which was not done in the Jason Kelce situation. As far as the Joel Embiid thing, Joel Embiid's got a lot of nerve saying that he's given everything to this city. He's given nothing to the city, and we've gotten nothing for him. So for that guy to come out and say those things, to act all holier than thou because he's above criticism, tells me we have a real problem with the Sixers. We have a real problem with the character of some of the players on the Sixers. And I was on the fence about trading Joel Embiid. I don't think they're ever going to win a championship with him, and now I really want him gone because he doesn't play. He's being paid big time money, and he sits on the bench. Only plays when the moment strikes him. Only plays on the biggest stages. I don't need that. I need a player that's a part of the team that's going to help them win all the time. And as far as what Marcus Hayes did, the position piece against him was right on point. And again, in the context of his son and his brother, I read it as he was drawing, as in Joel Embiid was drawing motivation from both of those people to be the best he could be. I did not take it any other way than that. And I think that's probably in the context it was supposed to be been written in. And to me, it's just Joel Embiid trying to deflect feeling mad about being criticized by Marcus Hayes. So I said this last night, Marcus Hayes has got a spot on this show anytime he wants. I applaud you for your integrity. I applaud you for your exercising your freedom of speech. I applaud you for all those things, Marcus. And I also applaud you for being a man and taking the accountability of what you did. We should all follow in those footsteps. Don't listen to anybody ever tell you you can't say what you want. You're damn right you can. But you better be ready to back it up. You better be ready to be held accountable for it. That's all I want to say. But don't ever listen to people tell you that you can't say or do what you want. You absolutely can. But you just have to be ready for the repercussions of that. All right, moving on now into something a little bit more. Let's talk some hockey, right? We're not going to get too deep into the Flyers tonight. There is no game tonight. The Flyers are going to get ready for a little bit of an interesting trip this week. Carolina, Tampa, Florida. It could be 0-3. They could give up 100 goals every night. It could be the worst thing that's ever happened to this team ever. Or it could be potentially maybe a get-right trip. Maybe they find some confidence. Maybe the offense wakes up. Maybe they find a little juju to get them moving in the right direction. Let's talk a little bit about some scores around the NHL tonight. Again, it's a pretty light night in the league. We got a few games, just two actually. Both of them are ongoing. In the third period out in Nashville, it is 2-0 Kings, and at the end of the second in Edmonton, it is 2-0 Devils. So that's it. That's all that's going on in the NHL tonight on a very late Monday. Today's Monday, right? Yeah, late Monday night in National Hockey League. So, but the Flyers are going to get ready to head out on the road starting tomorrow night. And don't forget, we have you here on Clear the Ice, on It's a Wrap Sports. Sal will have you in the post game. I think he has the next two post games, if I'm not mistaken. I get you sometime over the weekend. So make sure you're staying tuned for that and be there and be here for those shows as again, hopefully the Flyers will be able to pull themselves out of whatever it is that they are dealing with. And even with a backup goalie now and their third string goalie going in these games, we'll see. But that will lead me to my prospect of the night segment here on It's a Wrap. Talked about this before. We will highlight a prospect player of the night from either the Flyers or the Phillies. And seeing how this is hockey season, we are going to be discussing primarily Flyers players. As we get closer to baseball, like in January, we'll start talking some Phillies. We'll also do spotlight pieces on this segment where we'll talk about spotlight players as the Phillies get ready for their season, for example. And then we'll do some draft picks as well, draft pick targets as we get into draft season for the MLB and the NHL starting later this winter. So, but right now it's Flyers prospects that we're talking about. And tonight's Flyer prospect is right-hand defenseman Austin Moline. He was drafted in the 7th round of this year's draft. He is a 6'5", 200-pound right-handed defenseman of the Madison Capitals of the United States Hockey League. Let's kind of go over what the USHL is. The USHL is a feeder league. It's a major junior American hockey league here operating in the lower 48. Mainly the players that are playing in the USHL are getting ready to move on to the NCAA. So Austin here is probably, and I have to look up, I think he's already, no, he won't commit till later on, but he is more than likely on his way to the NCAA next year, because really playing in the USHL, it's not professional, meaning you don't get paid to play there. You get paid, you don't receive financial compensation for playing in the USHL. You receive high-level competition. You receive scouting from colleges and NHL teams. You receive those types of things. It's kind of a springboard for players between the ages of 16 and 18 to kind of launch themselves either to the NCAA or potentially into pro hockey through being drafted. Now, Austin was drafted by the Flyers, I said, in the 7th round. Big prototypical. This is the kind of kid I like. 6'5", 201 pounds. This is a big time defenseman. Moline's range and 6'5" frame is a real asset. He probes with his stick to make up space, reaching into puck carriers' wheelhouses more than actually guiding them to the outside. So he uses that stick of his as an extension to that 6'5" frame of his to disrupt offensive attacks, right? Poke checking, if you will, from with his stick. So years away will he be from being a Flyer, as he's just really starting out on his journey. Next year, more than likely, he'll end up in the NCAA. And then maybe 2 years from there, he finds his way to the Flyers. So, but a good project piece here, a good potential piece. The Flyers do have some depth in the D-core. They do. And he's just another piece to it. Currently, in the USHL, let's take a look at what Austin's numbers are up to this point. He has played in 13 games so far for Madison, the Madison Capitals. He has, let me get to it. Why is it not letting me see it? Oh, there it is. No, what the heck? Why am I not able to look at this? No, there it is. So 13 games, no goals, 4 assists for 4 points, 21 penalty minutes, and he's got a gaudy plus 10. So obviously they're scoring a lot with him on the ice. He has committed. He will be playing for going to Colorado College next year. So he has committed. So there you have it. On his way to the NCAA next season to play for the Colorado College Fighting Businessmen. I don't know what they are, but there you go. There's Austin Moline, the Flyers' 7th round draft pick this year in this year's draft. Big, rangy, 6'5", 200+ pound defenseman. Definitely part of what the Flyers will be looking for in the future. Drafted in the 7th round by Danny B in this past year's draft. So there you have the Prospect of the Night segment. Again, we'll do this, Mike, a couple times a week as we try to go through all the prospects for both the Flyers and the Phillies as we get deeper into this. So there you have it. So we'll remind everybody before we get to our final segment that, again, everything here is brought to you by the It's a Wrap Sports people. Please find us on social media. Please find us on YouTube. Like and subscribe so we can continue to bring you this great content as we are starting out on a new journey. So let's head over now to our final segment, my favorite segment of the night, MattyB's card review.
Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. What? Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
All right, MattyB's card review again, real quick. This is the segment of the show. We do it every night where I take a card from my sports card collection, kind of talk about it, kind of maybe go over some of the financial value it might have, some of the value it might have just for me sentimentally, or some of the intrinsic value that it might have, and just sort of remember how things used to be, right? And for me growing up as a sports card collector. And tonight we're back in baseball. Last night we stepped into hockey for the first time as we just started the segment last week, but we're back in baseball tonight. A little bit of an obscure card that we're going to talk about tonight. He is a Hall of Famer, but he is definitely, his career never really mounted to anything when it came to winning, but he just had a really solid career throughout his time in the major leagues. Was elected into the Hall of Fame in 2021. But tonight's card review, card of the night is the 1991 Larry Walker Dunross. Larry Walker as a Montreal Expo. Again, an obscure player, but a really good player. A Canadian-born baseball player. I believe he's the only one who's in the Baseball Hall of Fame who's been born in Canada. I need to verify that, but I think he is. He was drafted by the Expos, played his first few years with the Expos, then went on to have the Hall of Fame career that he did with the Colorado Rockies. Again, mired with some bad teams, just bad situations when it came to winning, but definitely an outstanding player. I remember Larry Walker very vividly. This is his 91 Dunross. Dunross, when it comes to the baseball card world, is not what you call the top of the level. When you talk baseball cards, it's obviously Topps. And then Fleer and Donruss kind of fight their way from number 2 and 3. But this is the Donruss card. And one of the reasons why I like this card, I'm just a big fan of the Montreal Expo uniforms of the late 80s, early 90s. I just love them. I love those robin egg blue. It's not even a robin egg blue. It's like a deeper robin egg blue. But the Montreal Expo logo, that M, to me is just awesome. I don't know. They did that right. This uniform to me reminds me of my childhood. The logo reminds me of my childhood. Everything about this card reminds me of my childhood. And I was actually 18 in 91. So I'm not even a kid here, but still, this is a throwback to my youth and a Hall of Fame baseball player debut. Financially, there's nothing extremely valuable about this card. There is one thing, though, that in this card, the 91 Donruss Walker, there is an error card floating around out there that on the back of it, when it has the information about where the card was printed, that in the after the word incorporated or Inc., I-N-C, there's no period. And that is an actual error card that's floating around out there. It raises the value of the card a little bit. But this card in its, I guess PSA 10 form, it's about a $4 baseball card, which for a 91 Donruss, Larry Walker, is not a bad deal. I mean, again, baseball card prices are subject to negotiations and how seriously somebody wants it. But if you had the error card, that brings it up to about a $35, $40 card. So a little bit of an increase in value in this card as you move up if you do have the error card. But here's the 91 Donruss. And it's all of its glory. Again, Larry Walker, a Hall of Famer in his right. He was elected to the Hall of Fame in 2021. So there you go. And here's the actual card in its physical form. Again, I do not have any of my cards graded. This is a raw card, meaning there's no grade attached to it. But as the grading system does go, this card is pretty clean. So PSA 10, maybe. PSA 9, 9.5, probably. But you're looking at about a $4 card. But there's no this card to me doesn't scream financials. Whenever I get any of the older baseball cards, Expo related, there's some valuable ones out there. If you can find a Randy Johnson rookie when he was in Expo, Tim Raines, Gary Carter, Andre Dawson, Hubie Brooks. She wasn't a rookie with the Expos, but players like that, Pedro Martinez, a card like that. There's some good players that have come through the Montreal Expos that just could never put it together with them. Montreal had a good team. They're just always snake bitten, man. But any of these Expo cards from back in the day, again, it just screams to me my childhood and this uniform, this logo, the blue with the M and the red, white, and blue hat, batting helmet and hat. I didn't like the pinstripes when they went that way back in the early 90s, but the 80s Montreal Expo uniforms are classic baseball uniforms. And I actually own a Gary Carter jersey. I'm not a Gary Carter fan, but I'm a fan of the logo and the colors. So this is my Larry Walker 91 Donruss. This was tonight's MattyB baseball card review card of the night. So Steve checking in, the 94 Expos got so screwed. Yeah, well, so did everybody. They did. Did the Yankees get screwed that year too, Steve? Were we looking at a Yankees Expos World Series potentially in 94 if the strike did not happen? But you're right. The Expos in 94, that was like their swan song, right? Things began to break up for them after that. But you're right. They had a great season that year and some great players. So so there's Larry Walker, a Hall of Famer. He is not in the Hall of Fame as the Expo. He is actually in the Hall of Fame as a Rocky. If you ever got up to Cooperstown and check out his bust. But there you have MattyB's card review. Card of the night is Larry Walker from the Expos and his 91 Donruss. And there you have it. So my favorite segment of the night. And that's going to take me to the end of my program. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We talked about put a bow on the Eagles-Jags. Talked a little bit about Dallas week. Talked about the Eagles winning in spite of their head coach. And we talked about the fact that Jalen Hurts is just not an elite quarterback. You don't throw the ball 215 times but only target the middle of the field 25 and call yourself an elite quarterback. You don't do that. So I think it's safe to say we can stop calling Jalen Hurts an elite quarterback. He's a good quarterback, but stop calling him elite. We talked about some of the hypocrisy that some people have about freedom of speech. There are no limitations to freedom of speech. Whatever ignorance you want to spew, spew it. You just have to be held accountable for it. And don't ever make limitations on that, because you don't have a right to do that to a person. Nobody does. You're not nobody's moral majority or moral police. You say what you want to say, but you're held accountable for what you say, and you're held accountable for your actions. We went over a little bit of the Flyers prospect of the night, Austin Moline, the 6'5", 200-pound defenseman playing for the Madison Capitals of the United States Hockey League, and the Colorado College commit, who will probably be a Flyer sometime in the 2030s. We talked about him, talked about Larry Walker, our card of the night, and we also thanked and congratulated Sal G on the debut of his new program, The Wraparound with Sal G, as it kicked off earlier tonight here on It's a Wrap Sports. There you go. There's the little logo. If you missed it in its initial run, go ahead and check it out on YouTube, as it's available right now. And that's going to wrap me up, folks. We have come to the end of another great program. Tomorrow night, remember, it'll be Clear the Ice and then me. So I'll be coming on after Clear the Ice. Sal G will have you tomorrow night for Clear the Ice. Flyers and, is it Hurricanes? Most definitely is. Flyers and Hurricanes from Raleigh, North Carolina. And tomorrow, also, we didn't talk about this, NFL trade deadline, 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. So tomorrow afternoon is the NFL trade deadline. What will Howie do, if anything? And talked about some MLB free agency. Phillies made a series of moves, low level, less earth shattering, tight moves, and yeah. So another great fun filled night. I will talk to you guys again tomorrow. So have a great rest of your night. And what is this? Floyd Yeomans. Floyd Yeomans? I remember Floyd Yeomans. Cliff Floyd. Yeah, I remember them guys. Andres Galarraga. Yeah, I remember. They had a great team. They did. Alou was also part of that team in 94. Absolutely. And Dennis Martinez was still pitching his ass off in 94. I absolutely remember the 94 Expos, Steve. They were a good team. Beaten down by the strike. But yeah, anyway, have a great rest of your night. You guys enjoy it. Have a great all day tomorrow, and we'll talk. Remember, get out and vote. Don't care who you vote for. Just vote. Make your voice be heard, because you can say what you want when you want it. But you have to be held accountable. But go ahead and vote and make your voice be heard tomorrow. Till we talk again, we'll see you guys later. See you tomorrow night.
I've been coming up hot for a minute. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. I just drop the top when I'm in it. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. Yeah, I flow so pure. Everybody know I'm on. You know when the click through to the send it's supposed to be a trophy.